Hi, good afternoon. This is Ruby Powers, board certified immigration attorney with Powers Law Group, and it is Thursday afternoon, about almost 2 Central Time on April 5th, 2018. This is our weekly update on what's happened in immigration. I will be out of the office tomorrow for a conference, so I wanted to give you our timely summary of all the news in right now. What's been going on? Well, just on Easter Sunday, I went to Port Isabel detention facility because I had a detained court asylum case on Monday. And that was an experience to prepare a case in a very little amount of time, but we are on our way hopefully to success on that case. But it did put a lot of things in perspective with everything in the news with there was news of a large caravan of immigrants coming towards the Mexican border, and Attorney General Sessions saying he wanted quotas with for the immigration judges. It all just seems so current, especially when I was trying to help a detained client at the on the American side, but who entered through Mexico from another country. And so I'm going to give you a summary of this week's news. So currently, the government under the State Department wants to require that all U.S. visa applicants submit their social media usernames, previous email addresses, and phone numbers so that they can have enhanced vetting for potential immigrants and visitors. And so previously the social media, email, and phone number histories were only sought after from applicants identified for extra scrutiny, and now those people who had traveled to areas controlled by terrorist organizations. But now it's going to be required by a lot more people. The department estimates it could affect 710,000 immigrant visas applicants and 14 million non-immigrant visa applicants, including those who want to come to the U.S. for business and education. Only a few certain diplomatic and official visa types will be exempted from the requirements, according to the AP article. Now, we've already seen reports of less people applying to the United States, or less people coming to the U.S. on different non-immigrant and immigrant visas. And in recent articles, we weren't sure if it was a matter of that they were being denied more or people were applying less. And I think it's a combination of both. So now we already have lower numbers on some of our visas. We already have travel bans, and we have increased scrutiny. So there will be less people who are going to want to apply to come to the United States based on that. Another article that we've seen this week was with the Huffington Post about agencies key to Trump's immigration agenda keep a lot of secrets. Well, basically it talks about how there's this thing called the Freedom of Information Act request, and it's where you can do what we call a FOIA, and you can do it to a lot of different agencies in the United States, State Department, Customs and Border Patrol, and Executive Office of Immigration Review, to get a copy of someone's file, or maybe even to learn some about a memo or processing that the way the government does something. Well, this report says that under the law, the government is supposed to grant or deny FOIA requests within 20 working days, with some exceptions, and provide records unless the information is legally exempt from disclosure. And basically it's saying that they're seeing a lot longer processing times, and the information that's being provided, there's a lot more redactions, which is where they black out or take out the information, which they may deem for national security or some other basis. Last year I did visit a cave, which is a FOIA facility where they process and store a lot of forms and files. And I do understand that just collecting the file, reviewing, having someone review it for sensitive data, having someone redact it, someone double check the redaction, and then burning it on a CD can take some time. But the thing about the FOIA is that a lot of people have a long history of casework with the United States government, and they need to get a copy because they might not have kept it. They might have lost their documents. Somebody might not have given them a copy. And so a FOIA is almost the first thing we do here at our office to try to find out what happened with someone's file if they weren't able to keep a copy throughout the process. So this will hinder a lot of processing if this continues. And FOIAs are at different locations, so different agencies might have different processing times. But well, hopefully that doesn't get too out of hand. And well, I don't know. We were preparing for this, and then I think things have changed since we prepared for today's Facebook Live. But basically, I think I was busy in court, and I didn't have my phone during most of while I was at the detention facility. But I believe Trump tweeted something about DACA is dead on Sunday, and then some more things happened. Because it was related to that, there's the reported caravan of immigrants coming all the way up to the Mexican border that just grew. And I think it started at 1,200 people and then grew and more and more and more. And then President Trump was talking about deploying the National Guard to protect the United States or guard the border. And then I think now today the update is he can't legally send the National Guard or can't use military funds to secure the border. I'm not something along those lines. But the caravan has broken up into smaller pieces. So so then it's not as much of a threat. So anyway, we will find out what happens there. In other news that was important is that, oh, sorry, if you can hear that, there's construction going on behind our building. Attorney General Sessions was realizing that there was a 700,000 unresolved backlog in cases in the immigration court. And so he proposed a quota or amount of cases that a judge has to get through every year of around 700 cases. Now, but the issue is what does clearing mean, or closing potentially? Like, how do you define what he would want? And I believe we don't have access to the memo that was produced to the 350 immigration judges around the country. And this standard, so this new standard would take into effect October 1st. But basically, that's a lot of cases, because if there's only 365 days, and that's counting weekends and holidays, and there's a lot of federal holidays, and there's even they have an annual week where the judges go and do like training, then that would almost be like 2 cases every day or more. I mean, basically, this is going to, as one other judge said, this is going to it could affect impartiality in the courtroom, because we already have the tightening of the motions for continuances that they passed a memo. There was a memo about that like a week or 2 ago that said that they won't grant a continuance unless there's a good reason for it, and they gave some guidance. And then if now the judges have to adjudicate, clear, close, whatever the definition of whatever this memo says, 700 cases a year, then there's going to be less likely that they're going to want to give enough time for counsel or pro se client to be able to prepare the evidence. They'll be more impatient and need to speed through the cases. Now, there was a good NPR article, podcast yesterday with an immigration judge, and there's also a lot of articles right now, including one from the New York Times a couple of days ago about this. And, this segues really nicely with the John Oliver segment that was this last weekend about immigration court. And for somebody who doesn't know a lot about immigration or immigration court, that was a really good video to watch, because it puts a lot of different things in perspective from somebody who might not have to deal with it on a regular basis. For an immigration attorneys, it was all too familiar for us. And but I would definitely recommend you watch it if you haven't seen it already. We have it posted on our social media. But one of the key takeaways is that as an immigration judge who was interviewed on the video stated that it's like, what did she say? it's like traffic court with the death penalty sentence. And because in many cases, if a person loses, they may be deported, go home and be killed, even though that they were afraid to return back. And that's all too real for us as immigration attorneys. And at the very end, there was a segment about children running immigration court, because there once was a judge who said that they could teach immigration law to a 3 or 4 year old so they could defend themselves, which we know is not possible. But anyway, it sort of brings to light some information and a little humor to a very serious topic. So something to watch if you'd like to watch that. And then we did get our H-1Bs out this week. This for the CAP, your early April deadline, you have to get it out this early in the week. And we found a recent article that talks about some of the most H-1B visa approvals, well, in the last about 6 years or so. A lot of them are in Newark, New Jersey area, Pennsylvania. And somewhere on the list we've got Houston with around 30,000. And so it looks like a lot of the H-1Bs approvals are a lot on the East Coast and Texas, and then like a little part in California. So interesting to note. So wishing the best for all the people who filed their H-1Bs. And in other words, I mentioned about my court case. We do travel to court around the country, and we do travel around for interviews as well. I will be in Washington, D.C. for National Day of Action next week. That's what I participate on a regular basis with the American Immigration Lawyers Association. And it's our chance for immigration attorneys to talk with local congresspersons, senators, and their staff to be able to talk about what is needed with immigration reform. We will bring up a need for a DREAM Act and other changes, and just what we are seeing on a daily basis on the front lines as immigration attorneys, and what's going on in our representative states. And I'll also be there for an asylum interview in Virginia on Friday, April 13th. We have, as our firm, have already gone to asylum interviews in Boston, Newark. We'll go to Arlington this next week, and New Orleans and Houston. And so we've represented people, the majority of the U.S. We have only a few more asylum offices left to have a case at. But we have been growing our asylum part of our practice. And so if you know anybody who needs help with asylum, that's one of our areas of expertise. Please give us a call at 713-589-2085. And, we've also take questions throughout the podcast, the Facebook Live, on the comment section. And I think in general, the only other thing is that I'm working on plans to go to New Jersey as well that weekend next week to meet with potential clients. And we'll be announcing some of those visits soon once we get that finalized. And I don't know if we talked about it last week, but we have a new associate. Her name's Nadia Khalid, and she, I should have had her come in right now, but she is, just joined us as an associate a couple weeks ago, but we mentioned it on our newsletter today, and we'll mention it on our Facebook and all our social media. But she's helping with asylum interviews, with other family-based interviews, and potentially court as well. And so we're really glad to have her on board. She speaks Urdu and beginner Arabic, and she went to SMU and Rice. So we're really happy to have her on board. Well, I think that's about it. I know there's something else I want to say, but I can't think of it right now. Bottom line, please, if you need immigration help, go to an experienced immigration attorney. This is not the time to try to do stuff on your own. This is not the time to go to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. And be safe with that and have a plan, because we've been seeing a lot more activity recently and a lot more court activity. And so just make sure you have a plan and have a consultation before something happens. And feel free to let other people know about us or get added to our newsletter, and check out our social media. And that's basically it. So thanks for tuning in and watching our Facebook Live. Again, this is our Powers Law Group in Houston, Texas, and my name is Ruby Powers, and our number is 713-589-2085, and I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks.